And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Outlaw Sports Network NHL Playoff Prediction Part 2. Same three people. We got Cody over there, as well as Benjamin.
Benjamin Clicky Bolt.
Yeah, sorry. We're trying to get back to the NHL. There we go. All right.
Got to pull up his research. So, tonight it's going to be fun. Everyone here has a team in the Eastern Conference. I think we all like the Eastern Conference just a tad bit better than the teams in that other conference that we call hockey.
That we call hockey.
Now, for me and Cody, as you can see, we're gonna try to be as unbiased as possible. Ben over there,
I don't have a dog to fight, so I could be as.
Next year's always a thing.
I'm the unbiased thing.
Yeah, next year's always a thing.
The most unbiased person, like the Cleveland Browns.
Ooh. So,
but
we
can win championships. They can't do anything.
I wasn't really referring to them as champions. I'm saying like.
Oh well, that's all I was doing. And I'm like, you can't really compare us.
I mean, you could. The Baltimore Colts or the old Cleveland Browns won an NFL championship.
Yeah, but that was before the Super Bowl. That was before the Super Bowl era.
Hey, listen.
But anyway, back to hockey. I don't know why you had to bring football. All right, buddy. Gonna ask basically, the same overall questions to begin as we did yesterday. The same 3 questions. So first, your guys' overall sort of opinions on the matchups we have here in the Eastern Conference. We'll start with Cody this time and pray that he doesn't go on a rant.
No, tonight it's not going to be like last night where I go on a nice big rant. I mean, I guess maybe because I have my favorite team is in the Eastern Conference, and for you little fucking Nashville fans, I wanted to comment saying that I like the Bolts and the Caps, and I just don't know who I like, and I'm confused. No, listen, I've always liked the Capitals. The Lightning have only been a team of mine ever since Kucherov got called up. But anyways, I think it's because I'm biased towards Eastern Conference, and I think these are the much better matchups in my opinion. I'm interested in every series. I want to watch as much of every series as I can. That's why tomorrow night's gonna be really fun watching Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. But it's just me. I think the Eastern Conference overall has just got more intriguing matchups in the first round, and like I said, I'm willing to watch every game as much as possible.
Old North Strong over there, how's it going? Your overall views?
I think it's interesting because the East has a slightly different style, I feel, than the West. The East kind of leans more towards offense, and the West has always been kind of a more physical. I mean, yeah, of course, you have the Northeastern teams like Boston, Philadelphia, who are known for their legendary physicality and size and skill, but the West always is just kind of what seems tougher to me. But the East has always been more skill, higher scoring. Like, I believe all these teams on the East, like, you look at the teams that made the playoffs in the East, everyone's got amazing goals for's versus goals against plus minuses and everything. It's just it's going to be an offensive flurry, at least on paper. So I'm looking forward to it.
I feel like the Eastern Conference depends on speed and skill, and the Western Conference depends on defense and body, like size-wise.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting how that works.
Most definitely.
Like, hell, even the scoring forwards in the West, like Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf, are like 6'3".
Like Ovechkin being in the Western Conference would be perfect.
Yeah.
But, hey, it is what it is.
Eric Stahl just fits in perfectly over there.
Yes, all right, go ahead, Randall. You got Jet twice.
Well, thank you so much.
Anyway, like I was saying, I just feel like I'm just kidding.
We're going to take
God dang, we suck at this.
We're just gonna take about a 30-second break from hockey real quick, and let me just tell you that the freaking Red Sox just beat the Yankees 14-1.
Oh, we don't give a shit. Okay, all right, move on.
Moving on.
The Braves got to run tonight.
Yeah, no one gets
more than last night.
Yeah, well, one.
So these teams, honestly, to me, I feel like every year we look at the same teams in the East. Every now and then the Devils come in like this year, but you always got Washington and Pittsburgh, Boston. Whenever they actually want to score in the last month of hockey, they'll make it. But Tampa, Pittsburgh, Philly, every now and then. And so with that, I think a lot of these teams, like you know, they know each other, and I think it'll be high scoring. Pretty sure we'll have a couple 7-8 goal games here and there in the playoffs. But yeah, that should be fun to watch. And so next question, we'll start with Ben on this one. Who do you think is the most overrated playoff team in the East?
Well, I feel like one of the two people here are going to strongly dislike my answer.
I have a feeling I know who it is.
Yeah, and even though I do have them moving on past the first round and when we get to our predictions, but my most overrated team is the, drumroll please, Boston Bruins. I really, to me, it seems like they just lack that oomph they had. Coach pointing at the screen. They just don't, like, I always get this gut feeling with them that they just don't. To me, it's like because they just don't have it. Like they always like they have back in 2011. It's almost like you have the same problem as LA. Your core is the same. It's the same aging, slow, big, dumb glutes that like so Daniel Chara's got, this is literally his last good year, and I don't like the Bruins. And
oh my God. Savage.
All right,
last night.
They just, because I mean, yeah, it's like you guys have been most of your scoring has been coming from.
And with that, we muted Ben for the time being.
Oh no, he did it! Oh my God.
Hey Ben, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. I can't.
No, he didn't.
Welcome back to the show.
Is someone still salty over 2009? I think someone's still salty over 2009.
No,
when we stepped into Boston and beat the President's Trophy team.
Honestly, I don't give a fuck about 2009. I think to rebuke this real quick because you just kind of personally attacked me.
Before you get into that, I'm just sitting back here watching this one. I'm okay with this.
Because I feel like you just personally attacked me and like raped my family over here.
Oh my God.
Let's talk about this Bruins team who has been severely injured the entire season. Who had Chara's old, and I agree he should probably have retired 7.5 years ago.
Oh damn!
But well, however, this team who is filled of outside of Bergeron, Marchand, and Chara and Rask, AHL talent outside of, again, you can add Pasternak in the non-AHL category, but everyone else is essentially AHL call-ups because we didn't want to spend money this year. And again, we've had I think 20 games where we've missed 8 of our starters from the original roster. So we've been hurt, and yet we're still number 2 in the East. That's
just it. I think you've just had a lot of luck with your scoring, having guys like Pasternak and McAvoy and other young guys step up and do well, because you do have a good top 6 and you have a good center core, and that always helps. But you can't deny you got holes, especially on defense, and you've got a lot of rookies on this team. And I really don't like that going into the playoffs. Now, again, I'm the activist for anything goes in the playoffs and miracles going to happen. And there's guys that, young kids step up. But I don't like it. That's why I never have. well, we can't say never have, but it's like the last 2 months of the season, and y'all kept like doing good. I was like, it's gonna end, and it's gonna end in the playoffs. All right, your turn.
I can see that. Now on to probably the most logical of my guess. No, I'm joking. Cody, go ahead, buddy.
I don't want to say my answer.
You don't?
Oh God, did he pick the Bruins too?
All right, listen.
Oh man.
Listen. Okay, I'm looking at this and I'm going, who do I really pick? I mean, I could say us, that we're overrated. But I mean, we don't have as much, I mean, it's the same story with us every year, but we just don't have as much press going into this one as other ones. I think the Lightning are really genuinely good. The only other team that I could come close to is the Penguins, only because the fact that they were they played kind of bled the first half of the season and they picked it up, but it's like, will their cockiness, in my opinion, of back-to-back cup champions, get them bounced in the first round, maybe the second round? But I mean, I don't want to say the Bruins just because it's like they're the odd team out, but I mean, I just think that everybody in the East, besides maybe the Lightning, they're all really close and evenly matched. But I'm not gonna lie, I really don't know who to pick. I'm just gonna say, just to piss people off, I'm gonna just say the Penguins. Just think that the back-to-back Stanley Cup, it's great. You have to respect them for that. You have to admire them for that. You have to actually take them seriously. I just think that they kind of not limp their way into the playoffs. They just kind of were like, it's fine, guys. We'll get to the playoffs. We'll win the cup easily. I just feel like that attitude from fans and such have got them into automatically assuming they're going to win the cup this year. When I just feel like that in years past, I could see, especially after the first round, that they had a lot of talent and that there was something to be reckoned with. They lost a lot of key guys, in my opinion, or not maybe a lot of key guys, but guys that definitely made an impact on their team in the past couple of years. And I just feel like relying on Malkin and Crosby, while that's a good thing to have, and they can both deliver in critical situations, and they have the playoff experience, obviously, in the Cups. Gensel has not done anything this year. Sheary hasn't done much of anything this year. But, of course, it's a playoff, so we'll see. But I'll go with the Penguins just to not make Randall mad at me because he gave me a compliment.
I know.
I picked the other black and yellow team.
So my answer is the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's a certain captain on the Steven Stamkos who, just like another captain in the East, Alex Ovechkin, seemed to not know how to perform in playoff time.
All right, I retract my statement. The Bruins are definitely overrated. They suck ass. They're not very good.
Old, slow, big.
All right, before he mutes both of us.
We're gonna end the stream right now.
You know what I'm talking the rest of the damn show.
No, but to me, Tampa outside of Stamkos and Kucherov's finally breaking out, had another good season. His I think career best in some categories. I still don't like him. I just think history has proven themselves as the Lightning can't get past to the Stanley Cup. I don't see it happening this year. Though on paper, everyone would say they have the easiest road to the Stanley Cup. Probably going to beat the Devils, most likely. Would either have to get Toronto or Boston, which a lot of people seem to think they can beat. And then either Philly, Pittsburgh, Columbus, or Washington in the Eastern Conference Finals. So on paper, they might have the easiest road. I still think they're overrated. I don't see them going very far. Now, we'll go to Cody. Who do you think is your most underrated playoff team?
Oh, boy.
Cody's just not very prepared tonight, are you?
No, I have everything written down.
It takes thoughts. It's okay.
It's just, like I said, you look at the Eastern Conference, and besides the Lightning, I just think everybody's really closely evenly matched. I really do. I'm gonna go with the Maple Leafs. I think the Maple Leafs, coming off the heels of the loss last year to Washington and was it last year? Yeah, it was last year against Washington. Now Matthews has got experience. Gaudreau's got more playoff experience. JVR's got some more experience as well. Freddie Anderson's playing really well. And you got some of these younger guys that are, definitely got some more experience here. So I think that with that, their speed and their skill is still really dangerous, I think. They proved it last year that Washington had to really, really fight to get out of that series. And that's not to say that the Capitals were doing their usual thing. It's just Toronto's got a lot of speed and skill, and they could surprise some people for sure. So I'll go with the Maple Leafs.
Benjamin Bolt.
All right. I'm stuck between two teams, but I know who I'm going to pick. Although both teams I picked I have them both losing in the first round. But my most underrated team is Philadelphia this year. I really actually liked the way they played, although they were very roller coastery this season. Like, they were very up and down. Like, oh, we're going to play great, be one of the highest scoring teams for about a month, and then we're going to play like dog shit, and then go on a what did they start the season with? Like a freaking
they had like an 8-game losing streak.
Exactly, and then they turned it around.
They had a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, they started the season like 2-8-3 or something crazy like that. Yeah. And then they turned it around, was it November or December, and then they had 10-game win streak, 11-game win streak, which
finally decided they wanted to play hockey.
Exactly. Then Claude Giroux woke up because he always starts the season slow.
Yeah.
Jakub Voracek helped too, but Claude Giroux, after he woke up, pretty much carried the offense with Jakub Voracek because Wayne Simmons, he was okay. Just a little bit disappointing for Todd.
Yeah, you can ask my fantasy team that.
Fun fact, it was on Randall's fantasy team.
As was every other black player in the NHL.
PK Subban, Joel Ward.
My guess is you didn't pick Devontae Smith-Pelly.
No.
That was the one guy you left off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Andy Vander Kane.
Andy Vander. But
anyway.
But yeah, I really do like their offense, and they are kind of a bruiser team. But the edge they have over Boston in terms of being the hard-hitting, kind of rougher, dirtier players is that they have more speed and skill, especially in the back end with Ivan Provorov, Shane Gostisbehere, and so on. It's crazy just to think how much actual talent they have on the roster is arguably up there with the Penguins. When you look at overall skill, I really think they're up there. And they have a lot of veteran leadership too, with of course, Claude Giroux, being to the Stanley Cup Finals before. And then you have Valtteri Filppula. And then, of course, they do have some rookies, though, like, Nolan Patrick and Travis Konecny. But they have a good balance. And then their top 6, their top 9 is just nasty. And, again, I like their defense, but it is a mean defense. It helped that they got McDonald from the Islanders. And Travis Sanheim starting to come along nicely. So they have a good team. My biggest question mark for them is goaltending. Yeah. Can Brian Elliott be consistent and be good? I know they brought in Peter Mrazek, or however you say his name, Mrazek. Yeah. They brought him in to kind of be the plan B. Yeah. But he's not the best plan B. He is good. Don't get me wrong. I like him, but that's my biggest question mark. But I do like this team. They have the potential to make some noise. And I don't think they're going to get past Pittsburgh, but I really think that they have the best shot of anyone in the other than maybe Tampa Bay, but obviously they're not playing Tampa Bay in the first round. So they have the best shot, I think, of knocking Pittsburgh out.
So before I give my team, I'm going to play about a 30-second clip as basically my reasoning from this team's Facebook page. So we're gonna listen to this for a little bit.
This is what I think the big issue with the team is. There's too many young guys. There's too many out there who are running around who don't know what they're doing. I think the Bruins season is over. I think they're done.
And it froze. Fine. Anyway, basically,
we got the point.
It's our playoff ad. Hashtag in our blood. And yes, I pick the Boston Bruins as the most underrated team. Why? Because everyone and their mother in this country seems to think that because the Bruins have like Ben said, they're old and they can't they have no speed and they're young. We finished second in the Eastern Conference, for God's sakes, with the most injuries in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. Let's take a look at this roster.
Not impressed.
Let's take a look at this roster real quick. Of course, we know we got the captain and Bergeron, which is the heart and soul of the team, should have the C on his chest. We got Chara, who, if he would take a third line defensive spot, I think can actually help the team more than he actually is. If the fucking roster would load, I can tell you the rest of the players. But we got Marchand. I can continue naming people I know. Marchand, who has been more consistent scoring in the past 2 to 3 years than he has the rest of his career, after he learned that being a big bully doesn't work in this league anymore. You got David Backes, which has playoff experience. Brian Giunta, which we signed at the most perfect time. Not a tremendous goal scorer at his age, but, experience for these young guys. Riley Nash, Rick Nash, David Pastrnak. Let's talk about some of our young guys everyone complains about. Ryan Donato came in at the end of the college hockey season for Harvard, scored in his first 3 games. Jake DeBrusk, breakout season. David Heinen, no one even knew about him until this year. Corrali, Schaller, Tommy Wingles, we got from Chicago. Grizzlick, Holding, we got Torrey Krug still, McAvoy. We got McQuaid, who has experience in a Stanley Cup. Brandon Carlo. The only person on this roster that I'm looking at that I don't like is Anton Budobin.
What? What's wrong with Dobby?
This team right here, I think, has a chance to make the Stanley Cup. We have a grit that I don't think any other team in the Eastern Conference has. We either go down fighting. We may lose a couple games. I think the first 2 series we have, we'll go to 7 games. And if we're going to lose a couple, but we're going to fight. It's not going to be like this easy sweep over the Bruins. Everyone seems to think the Bruins don't have it. With that said, now that my rant is done, let's go on to the next question. One team in the Eastern Conference not in the playoffs you think should be in the Eastern Conference playoffs? We'll start with Cody.
Tampa Bay. I mean, not Tampa Bay, idiot. Florida. Florida was right on the edge of making the playoffs there, battling the Devils for that last wildcard playoff spot. Even with some subtractions they had, they still had a really good campaign this season, and we're really close to making that final wildcard spot. But you lose too many games early in the season. You have to play catch up. That's not always a recipe for success, even though Philadelphia definitely proved us wrong on that one. Not every team can go through that, but I would say it would be in Florida, and they would have replaced for New Jersey.
Perfectionist could have been bold. I have a feeling I know what he's going to say, but we're going to go to him anyway.
Oh, no. It's easy. Yes, the obvious answer would be my Hurricanes, but we had too many problems. We were way too inconsistent. Because when we did play well, we could hang with anyone in the league, and we were a playoff team twice. Like, we were in the playoffs standing-wise twice, 2 separate occasions this season, but every time we got there, they're like, you know what? we don't want to be here. So let's go on a 5-game losing streak every single time. And of course, our goaltending was absolute garbage. All right, but anyway, I'm going to agree with Cody. I'm going to say
especially at Darling.
I'm going to agree with Cody. I'm going to go Florida. My other choice would have been the Islanders, but they actually had similar problems we did. They were way too inconsistent, and their goaltending was a big issue. Thomas Greiss was not the same Thomas Greiss he was 2 years ago. So, or last year even. So that's why they didn't make the playoffs. So I'm going to go Florida. And I agree. They have a good team. I like their team because they're proven to be the staple of grow your own talent. And they've come up through this works. And then now you have a really good top six and decent defense. And they even got, of course, good old Uncle Bobby Lou anchoring them behind the net. And heck, they even got Jim Reimer as the backup. And I actually like that 1-2 punch because Jim Reimer has playoff experience, and he's a capable, more than a capable backup. He's really like a 1A, just not quite good enough to be a starter. So I really did like Florida, and if they made the playoffs, they would have replaced New Jersey because I think Columbus is better than that, and so New Jersey would have been knocked out. And because New Jersey had that great start, and they almost pulled a Vegas, but they did kind of just sneak in. Of course, we helped them by losing 3 very key games to them later in the season. So, but they would have been if we would have beat them, then who knows how the season would have turned out. But they just squeaked in my opinion. So I really think that Florida should have made it, and they would have replaced New Jersey.
All right, so I think the easy answer is to go with Florida because, of course, when you look at the standings, it isn't like the Western Conference, which the 2 teams out of the wild card were literally within 3 points of actually making it. The Eastern Conference, you had Florida, and then the next was Carolina, like 15 points behind. So
13,
15. I'm debating. I'm still debating between. I was going to say Carolina just because I really, like you said, Ben, when y'all are on fire, y'all are on fire. I think goaltending, like you said, was one of your biggest problems. The defense is kind of shaky.
Very young, very inconsistent.
I think you had some key games here late in the season. I know in March, you lost 2 games in a row to Boston and Philly that you guys were like blowing us out and fell apart in the third.
Yeah, we don't like leads.
And so I'm going to go with it's going to hurt me to say this, but I'm going to say the New York Rangers because before the trade deadline, this was a team I thought would have got a wild card spot. They were playing wild card like hockey. I don't know why they decided to ship everyone away. I think if they kept the roster they had, they would have made the playoffs. But obviously, they're looking for youth. They got a bunch of draft picks out of which I think for the Eastern Conference is what you need because it's a quicker, more skill-based league, like we've already discussed on here. So I want to say the Rangers. They would have placed New Jersey, which would have been lucky for Capitals because they wouldn't have to face them until Eastern Conference Finals. So this is Randall take shots at Washington all night. No, I'm joking. Now we move into the fun part of the show, and that's predicting the game. So we're going to start. If you look on the NHL bracket challenge, excuse me, that voice crack.
Brandon just hit puberty.
Yesterday we started from the top and worked down. This night, tonight, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So we're going to start with Philly, Pittsburgh. The Battle of Pennsylvania. Always fun to watch these 2 teams play. We're going to go with Ben. Who do you think wins?
I actually have 2 different I mean, they're both outcomes are the same. It's just the number of games is what I've been debating on. I have Pittsburgh advancing, beating Philadelphia, but I don't know if they're going to beat them in 6 or 7. And one of my brackets, I made 2 different brackets, and one of my brackets I have them in 7, and the other I have them in 6. Realistically, I think it's going to be in 6, but I really think that Philly, if they can hold on, and like I said, if they can just figure out and shut down or solve Crosby, solve Malkin, and Murray, it's all going to come down to Murray. If Murray is like he was last year, lights out, no problem, sees the puck well, is technically sound, then Philadelphia's done. I don't care who you are. They don't have a chance. But with that being said, Pittsburgh, of course, when you have not 1, but 2, we could say now Hall of Fame centers on your team, then you are automatically, you have a shot. I don't care who you are. Your tangible other players are automatically, because that's when you have guys like that, they make everyone better around them. And then you add guys like Phil Kessel to the mix. It's just, you have a good top 6 right there because you have 2 great centers and they have decent depth. Their defense to me is the only issue. That is the only spot that I'm like, oh, that's the only part of the team I don't like. I don't care that you added Derek Brassard. And like Cody said, Jake Gensel was kind of invisible this year. And they have guys like, Brian Russ and great bottom pairing guys. Hell, they even got Josh Juris from us. But their defense is the only thing that I'm like, eh. Like, yeah, you got Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang. And Chris Letang, of course, is, an elite defenseman, and only Mata, I feel like if he didn't have all those injuries and those health issues he had early on in his career, he would be a lot better. I feel like that stunted his growth. He's still a really good defenseman, but he's not, I don't think what he could have been. Justin Schultz is good, but Jamie Olechek and Matt Hunwick to me are serviceable. If that's a proper word, I just don't care much for him. And then if, like I said, if Matt Murray, when he's on, he's lights out, he's good, borderline Vezina Trophy winner. But if he's not, they gotta go to Casey DeSmith, who is just who is that? Who is Casey DeSmith? I've never even heard of him. So I'm assuming he was probably with Wilkes-Barre Scranton. And I never even saw him. Like when the Checkers played Wilkes-Barre this year, I never saw him. I just saw Christian Jarry all the time. So
it's because DeSmith has been on the NHL roster for like half the year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Murray was hurt. Because Murray was hurt for a long time.
So I guess, and also then DeSmith didn't play a whole lot anyway, because I know once Murray was hurt, Jarry played a lot. The Hurricanes played him, so it was interesting. So, but anyway, I do, of course, like I said, their offense is just undeniable. They even got guys like Patrick Hornquist, like I said, Derek Brassard. Hell, they have 3 centers. They have Derek Brassard, to me, is not a first-line center, but he's one hell of a second-line center, and he's someone like that's on your third line. You're just nasty down the middle. And then they have good tangibles. So that's why I have Pittsburgh in either 6 or 7, but for this video, I'm officially going to say 6.
All right, Cody.
I think that this will be a very intriguing matchup. I think no matter what, who wins this series, whoever advances into round 2 is going to be one beat-up team for sure. Definitely a cross-state rival. It's going to be hard-hitting hockey. A little bit of the Western Conference flair into this one, but it also adds to the layer of both just, deep, dark rivals. The Penguins won the season series 4 games. Clean sweep over Philly. Philly did lose twice in overtime, but as we see in the playoffs, points don't matter. It's all about the wins. Pittsburgh scored 20 goals to Philadelphia's 11. So that doesn't pose well if you're looking at seasonal statistics. A -9 goal differential in the season series. That doesn't look good on paper. But it is a playoffs. It's a whole new season. It's rivals. You can basically toss it out the window. I kind of the first thing that when I thought of this matchup is, are we going to have the same series we did in 2012 where there was 56 goals in 6 games? which if you divide that out equally, that's over 9 goals a game. Holy hell. Now, of course, not every game had 9 goals or close to it. But there was a few games in there where the winning team had over 6 goals. I know Philadelphia scored 8, I think twice, but Pittsburgh scored 10. So that was a bloody, awful series as far as goaltending was concerned. I don't think it'll be like that this year. I don't think you'll see the 50 goal. I don't even think you'll see a 30 goal mark in this series. I think it's going to be tightly contested. Good defense. Both goalies are good. Obviously, I would choose Murray over Elliott in this situation, but Elliott's not a bad goalie either. I got Pittsburgh, and it's funny in the playoff brackets we're doing. I have Philadelphia actually winning this. But for this,
I wonder why.
Well, you got to mix it up a little bit. You don't always want to choose the favorites. You got to mix it up a little bit. But in this video, I am going to choose a favorite. I'm going to choose Pittsburgh in 6. Even though I said Sheary were not as good as definitely what Pittsburgh hoped for this year, it is the playoffs. These guys have plenty of experience. They know how to get it done. It's just a matter of, if they can get out of there with not as much injuries as possible, or just getting out and, unscathed as much as possible. But I got Pittsburgh in 6.
Cool. I love being the odd man out. I got Philly in 6 for the reason that outside of the goal scorer in Giroux and the assist man in Voracek, Simmons has probably been the most disappointing player in the team. That's a little quick background. My dad's a Philly fan, so I've watched a lot of Flyers hockey this year. I really like Konechny. I really like Couturier. Couturier's had a career season this year. Gostisbehere, really good defenseman. So my problem with Pittsburgh is, to me, outside of Murray, Malkin, and Crosby, they don't really have anybody. I mean, I know they added you just said his name. I already forgot it. The dude from the Rangers at the deadline, and just to me,
Donald or Dunna.
Yeah, McDonough. Yeah, him. To me, Philly just they play my style hockey. I'm a big fan of the physical.
Wait, no, sorry. It's McDonald. McDonough went to the Lightning. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. That team.
He said that too.
And I think the Penguins, their cockiness is going to get to them. I hate Pittsburgh fans, as everyone else does, because everyone's like, yeah, we're going back to back. No, you're not. Philly's going to end it in 6 games. I always like a good shutout, or a good not a shutout, a good surprise.
An upset.
Upset. That's the word I'm looking for. They're going to be the Loyola Chicago of this year. If my cat would leave me the fuck alone, that'd be great.
She just wants attention.
Yeah, well, Simba can wait. Next game, Columbus Blue Jackets versus the Washington Capitals.
Shots fired.
I'm going to start with this one because I already think you guys know where I'm going with this. I think we have another upset. Columbus in 6. I've already told you that I've already displayed my feelings. I don't like Ovechkin at all. I don't think he's a leader. All he does, and I'm going to say this now, no offense to you, Cody. All he does, and most of his freaking goals come on the power play, at the circle, on a one-timer, and it's annoying as hell. With that said, I really like Columbus's team. Tortorella is a really good coach. Again, I like his style of coaching. The all up in your face style. That the guy who would send out his fourth line for the whole idea of starting a fight before the puck drop. That guy. I really like him. If we look at some stats, goaltending's better for Columbus, and that's the only thing better for Columbus. Statistically, I don't like stats going into playoff games. I always like picking despite who I think's going to win. So I'm going to go Columbus. I have no other reasoning other than I hate Washington.
Biased much.
Go ahead, Kobe. Hey, buddy.
Oh, is the shitty guy to stop talking? Okay, good. I can actually, spit out some truth here. God, I almost fell asleep with that biased commentary. So let me give you the real rundown here of how this is actually going to happen. And it's okay that we don't have a cup. That's everybody's little excuse. I understand. It's all good. Not everybody can be champions, and sometimes it's better to like teams that don't have a championship. And so when you do see their first championship, it gets crazy, it gets wild. And I guess whenever you're salty from after 2011, when you were, defending cup champions and you let a 7 seed beat you off of a winning overtime goal, you do get a little more salty, but that's okay. I'll first say I got the Capitals winning this in 6. Us and John Tortorella have had a very, very, very long history with him being obviously the head coach for the Rangers for most of those series that we've played against them. Had some success, of course, had some failure. That's the nature of the Capitals. Some stats this season: Capitals won the series 3-1, but the goals were actually even. The last game we played against Columbus, we just didn't feel like playing, and they beat us by 4. So the goals, definitely offensive series. To me, the big headline going into this is that Grubauer is starting over Holtby in game 1. My opinion, the better choice. Grubauer's just been on this game this year, has been tremendous for us. And I think Ben made a mention that I don't remember what team or whatever you said about not having a good backup or not having a good choice in the backup goalie. We've got arguably the best choice as a backup goalie in the playoffs with Holtby. When he's on, Holtby is the best goalie, in my opinion, in the game. But he's been off this year. So I'm just glad that we still have Gruby, and he's just been leading us this year. So anxious to see how he does in the playoffs. See if he actually gets more than one start. Washington's got this is not going to be all about Washington, but I just have a little more things to talk about them. This season was a transition season for Washington. Not many people picked us to even win the division. Some picked us to be more of a wild card team just because of the fact that we had a lot of fountain of youth coming up here. Madison Bowie, Jacob Vrana, Travis Boyd, Chandler Stevenson coming up. And then also on the back end with Jared Beck we got from Montreal, and Michael Kempney we got in a trade as well. Mixing with some veterans, of course, Backstrom, Kuznetsov's more of a veteran now on our team. Ovechkin, of course. Oshie, some of these guys that has had playoff experience and are most lethal guys on the ice. So it's just an interesting combination. How we still rose up to the occasion and won the division. It's pretty cool to see that. Of course, Columbus has got a really good roster too. Atkinson is always going to be on there. Seth Jones, can't forget about him on the blue line. When Bobrovsky is playing and he's on his game, he's arguably one of the best in the NHL as well. He had a little bit of a so-and-so year this year. Had a lot of losses in regulation, which I find pretty interesting. And probably the biggest thing that goes for Columbus and can go against Washington is that Columbus has made it to playoffs 4 times in their history and have never won a playoff series. Definitely, it's this the year? And that's also the same question for the Capitals. Is this the year? We make it to the second round, even get to the Cup Finals, and even win the Cup. You never want to be that team that gets to be a first for another team. Eventually will happen for the Blue Jackets, and if it does happen for the Capitals, it would not shock me. Like I said, the Eastern Conference is just all really evenly competitive. So I think that if the Capitals do fall to the Jackets, some people may find it a little bit shocking. I find it as the Blue Jackets are coached by a great coach with Tortorella, and have got some serious weapons on offense and on defense. So it wouldn't shock me if they win. Of course, it would suck because that's my team, and that's usually what they do, fall in the first or second round. But I do have the Capitals winning in 6. I think it'll be a very evenly competitive matchup, really pretty low scoring. But I do think the Capitals do win it. And to allude to your little statement you made a few minutes ago about Ovechkin, most of his goals were not in the power play this year. Actually, only 15 or 16 of them were, or 17 out of the 49. So, that's unfortunate. And if you can't stop a shot from the circle, he's done it now like 275 out of his 600, maybe even over half of his goals have been from that slot. Just stop it. Yeah, if you don't like it, just stop it. But it seems like still can't do it. So hey, I would hate it too if I couldn't stop it.
Interesting. Ben, your take.
Damn. That was interesting. All right. Well, I got, like I said, even though I said, no, I did say, sorry. Even though I had Columbus as, I was debating between them and Philadelphia as my underdog team. I do have Washington in 6 defeating the Blue Jackets. And the reason is Washington, like what Cody said, if plan A goalie don't work, they do have one hell of a plan B. And that, I could speak from experience, is a great thing to have. And even though it's, of course, well over 10 years ago. But, of course, the 06 Hurricanes, Martin Gerber faltered. We lost the first 2 games to Montreal. What do? Bring in Cam Ward, and we go on, win 4 straight, win that series, and then the rest is history. And heck, the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, with Flower and Murray, that's kind of how the emergence of Murray happened, essentially. So, 2 years ago, I guess. But, something like that. So that's why it's always great to have a backup goalie, and they do have one side. And I'm not just saying that because of Gerber's ethnicity, being from Germany. And he is a proven, he needs a shot somewhere. I keep saying you guys need to trade him, give him a fair shot somewhere else. But enough about that. I do, of course, Washington's nasty up front. Their top 6 is just always filthy. When you have Backstrom down the middle and Kuznetsov also down the middle, you have a great 1-2 punch. And then, of course, on the wing, you got the 7th-time leading goal scorer in the league. That's pretty hard to deny. The stats there are black and white. When you lead the league in goals, that's normally for a reason. You don't just luck into that. And then, of course, they do have good tangibles. Of course, good veteran leadership with Eller, Oshie, Beagle, who's a great 4th-line center, who I would actually argue is probably the best 4th-line center in the league. And that's important. Depth down the middle is important, and your tangibles, your wingers, your bottom 6, top 6, doesn't matter. It's good, although I do think they have a poison under team in Tom Wilson, and he's just a cancer, and he needs to go. But other than that, their forward core is great.
In just a second, this will be really the only time, because it's my team, so this will be the only time I interject into that one. Wilson in the past, yes, I would agree with that, but Wilson of this year has been really great. He's toned down on his nastiness and his dirty hits. Of course, he's still the leading penalty guy in our team, but he's also the guy that draws the most penalties of our team as well. And his offense came alive this year. Obviously, not a 30 or 25 goal scorer like a Kuznetsov, but his offensive production definitely went up a lot this year because he was mostly on the top line with Backstrom and or Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. So offensive Tommy is starting to rise a little bit, and he's getting the nastiness out of other teams to draw penalties and get us on the peak on the power play. But in the playoffs, I fear that he'll go back to his old ways just because, it's a playoffs, the chirpiness and the chippiness and the gritness kind of come out. So we'll see. But this year in the regular season, Tommy was a good boy. So,
yeah. All right. And then now I have two main areas of concern, though, for the Washington Capitals. Is the first one, the biggest one, is the defense. You have three good defensemen. I like them. They're solid, reliable. Of course, you have John Carlson, Matt Niskanen, good 1-2, top 2 pairing. I like that. None of them are really elite. John Carlson is really, really good. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if he's elite. I think he had so many assists this year just because of y'all's offense is quite potent. And a lot of that, like if he just gets shots on goals, either they're cleaning up rebounds or he's passing to guys who know how to finish. So that has a lot to do with it. But I like that 1-2 pairing. And of course, Orlov is good. He's come along. And then after that, it starts to taper off, though. Orpik is old. But again,
which Orpik would just get a career-ending injury and leave.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? He's just slow, and there's nothing wrong.
There's a cancer on the team. That's it right there.
He's not. His age is not a problem because it's just his age. The reason it's a problem is because he's slow, and his physicality is not what it used to be. He's just not the same Orpik, and that's why I remember calling it. Well, of course, me and a few other friends kept telling you, dude, as soon as you signed him to that ridiculous $5 million a year contract, we're like, you're going to regret that in 3 years, and here it is. But hey, we understand why you did it to begin with. So, but then after that, though, your bottom two is a toss-up of guys like the Juice, Bowie, Kempney, or Jurabek. I'm saying it wrong, probably. Yes, you into the goal, raising your hand.
It's Jews, not the Jews.
Oh, not
it's
the
Jews.
Is it D silent?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the people that the Germans exterminated Jews.
Oh. Whoa. Okay. The weird left turn into the wall.
I told you we were going off the. No, I'm joking.
This is the wrong podcast. This is not.
And this concludes tonight's podcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see you guys maybe next year when YouTube lets us have our channel back. If the headphones doesn't get shut up again.
Oh boy. Boy, yeah.
Right, we can continue.
I didn't know this turned into off the rails. But anyway. But yeah, that's the one main area of concern I have Washington. And number two, though, is Alex Ovechkin himself. And the reason is that his history in the playoffs are iffy. It's not that he can't produce. Sometimes he can. He's had years in the playoffs where he is an absolute beast in the playoffs. And other years, it's like he just forgets how to play or does what he does on a nightly basis in the regular season. So, because I'm going off on when I watched the playoff series with, oh God, who are you playing? I forget. It was 3 years ago or 4 years ago. It was a while ago. I forget. It wasn't Montreal. It was after that series, but I forget who. It might have been Philadelphia. No, it wasn't Philadelphia. I forget who it was. Regardless, it just seemed like it might have been Islanders. That's who it was. It was Islanders.
So it's either the Islanders or the Rangers.
Yeah, the Islanders. And it seemed like Ovechkin was almost invisible because all he did was go out there and hit people. He didn't shoot a lot, or if he did shoot, they were just bad shots, like bad timing, stupid shots. They weren't like high scoring chances or anything. They were just I'm gonna throw the puck on net and hope it. See what happens. They were just, and that's why I'm saying it just depends on what Ovechkin are we going to get this year. If we get the standard one that we got during regular season and what we got starting to get the last few years in the playoffs, then I think you're going to be fine. But if we get Ovechkin who goes out there and tries to overthink it and tries to just crush every person he sees, then it's a recipe for disaster. And then the reason I have Columbus losing, though, is that I don't think they have the offense capable. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have a very good forward core. I love their defense, and they have a great goalie in Bob and a great backup in Korpisalo. But they have a young defense, too, because Verzinski, Murray, and hell, even Savard isn't even that old, and Jones isn't that old either. They don't have a whole lot of experience. Of course, they will get much better down the road, but right now they're kind of relying on guys like Ian Cole and Jack Johnson as the veteran stables for their defense. But they do have a good defense. It's just that, the forward core is iffy, although, of course, they're led by Artemi Panarin, the bread man himself, and like Cam Atkinson, Brandon Dubinsky, Nick Foligno, Dubois, and Boone Jenner, Mark Letestu. They have veteran leadership. I just don't think they have the offensive punch capable of getting past y'all because they averaged less than 3 goals a game during the season. They averaged 2.878 to the Capitals 3.122. So it'll be interesting. I just don't think that their offense can keep up. I don't think they're going to score enough goals to get past one of your 2 goalies. So that's why I have Washington in 6.
All right. Now the game we've all been waiting for. No, I'm joking. The rematch of the 2012-2013 first round playoffs. That is historic in Boston and Toronto playoff memories. The series that I think gave, Boston the momentum to go lose in the Stanley Cup Finals to the Chicago Blackhawks in 17 seconds, where we should have. Anyway, we all know that year. Boston versus Toronto. Y'all two can go first, so I can defend my team at the end of this, because I have a feeling we're about to get a couple knockout punches put our way. So we'll start with Cody on this one. You get your chance to throw some punches at my team now.
So, I think with Boston, they've got history on their side. Both these teams were the only 2 original 6 teams to make the playoffs this season.
Which is a lovely sight.
Boston with Patrice Bergeron having over 30 goals, Marchand having over 30 goals, and Pastrnak having over 30 goals have a lot on their side. But the Maple Leafs also countered with 3 30-goal scores of their own with Kadri, Riemsdyk, and Austin Matthews, of course. In the season series, Toronto did win the series. Toronto won the series 3-1. Boston losing one of those games in overtime. The goals for were pretty even. 10 goals for Boston, 12 for Toronto. I think no matter what, and you could say this for possibly any other playoff matchup, but I think this one will be more so, and definitely the determining factor that special teams will win this series. Toronto had the second best power play of the whole NHL this season. Boston had the 4th, and Boston had the 3rd best penalty kill. And Toronto had the 11th. Having a top 5 special team unit, both PK and power play, that does bode you well for the playoffs. I think this will definitely be the highest scoring series of the 4. Boston and Toronto, like I said, are the only teams that have 3 30-plus goal scorers. And I think all 6 of those players, both 3 from Toronto and 3 from Boston, show up in this series often. Boston's got some good leadership. Obviously, Marchand, Bergeron, Chara, all these guys, Tuukka Rask, they're all great. However, I think that what happened in Boston a couple of years ago does happen, and they get to a 7th game. I don't think that a epic collapse of epic proportions will happen again. I just think it's going to be an evenly matched up series. One team will win a game, another will win the other one. I don't think you'll have a 3-1 lead or a 3-0 lead, and the next team comes back. I just think it's going to be a back and forth series, and whoever does get the back-to-back win, or who gets the first to win and just kind of alternates after that, will evidently, obviously, win this matchup. I got Toronto in 7, though. I think with their playoff experience last year, they understand the pressures of the playoffs, and they've got one of the best coaches in the history of NHL with Mike Babcock back there. Dude is just a beast with his playoff experience, and it almost led to them upsetting the Capitals last year. But they were just a little too young, a little too inexperienced for sure. This year with Matthews and Riemsdyk, Kadri, like I said, I just think that these guys are more experienced, more ready, obviously have the speed, obviously have the skill, and especially with this Boston team that if they get caught on odd man rushes, it's not going to bode well for them if they keep doing that. The Capitals did that a lot last year in the playoff series, and luckily it didn't get them burned too much. Sometimes it didn't happen. I just think that as close of a series it's going to be, I just think Toronto does pull it out in 7.
Interesting.
Benjamin Bolt.
I have Boston winning in 6, I want to say. And the reason is I like Boston does have that playoff experience that Toronto doesn't. But again, like I said, playoffs, whole new animal. But I do think that's going to play a factor here. And also, the biggest thing I don't like about Toronto is I don't like – it's kind of a reoccurring theme, but I don't like their defense. And they have an amazing forward core, which we all cannot deny. Kind of like what Cody was saying, too. If they have 330 goal scorers, they were a monster offensively, averaging 3.293, third most goals for in the league. But their defense, I don't think, is stingy enough. And their goaltending is solid with Freddie Anderson, that bastard that refuses to sign with my Hurricanes. And but it's just that I don't like the defense. I don't like their defense. I mean, of course, Morgan Riley, he's the anchor. And then they have good veteran leadership, of course, with Ron Hainsey, who just won a cup last year. But I just they have too many question marks on the defense, like Nick with Zaitsev, Gardner. Because Gardner, to me, has always been a very inconsistent player. He's like plays here and there. Like he plays when he wants to, it seems like. Dermott and Carrick are good, but I don't really know where they really fall in. And Ryan Pollock, to me, is just more of a shutdown physicality kind of guy. But offensively, yeah, you can't deny what they have. Of course, the acquisition to get Thomas Plekanec from the Habs was a good choice. But I just don't think they have it defensively. But moving on to the Bruins, yes, they also, surprisingly, for some reason, for being a slow-ass team, managed to be 6th most for goals for in the league with 3.256. And which is an impressive number, if I do say so myself. So I do like the Bruins goaltending, of course, when you're anchored by Tuukka Rask and you have a good backup with Anton Khudobin, and you have, and then the defense, though. The defense is where Boston stands out. They do have, I mean, it's a lot of young defensemen, kind of like the Hurricanes this year, but you're led by Zdeno Chara and Adam McQuaid. Those are your veterans. But it's guys like Holden, although Holden's not really that young, but he's only been in the league, it seems like, a few years. But then you got Krug, McAvoy, Carlo. These are some very young players here. Although Krug's not very young, but he's still, again, like, what is this, his 3rd full season? So, and yeah, you got Miller. But you have a very good top 6. Even then, heck, there's a lot of guys on here that won't even be able to play. So you have more than 6 good defensemen. But it's just those young guys, kind of like McAvoy and Carlo. Can they hold it down? Can they show up and be consistent in the playoffs? And then offensively, kind of like I said earlier, yeah, you got Rick Nash, and you got the other R Nash with Riley Nash. Well, I thought that's kind of funny and confusing at the same time now. But it's just that you have a good center depth, but I just don't like the lack of speed. But I do think at the end of the day, it's going to prevail. Your defense is going to hold off the Toronto offense, and they're going to get by in 6 games, just because I think they're going to rattle Toronto and they're all the kids that lead that team, and I think they'll move on.
Cool. So I got the series going 7, and I got the Bruins powering out. To me, Toronto is Austin Matthews and Kadri and Van Riemsdyk. That's about it.
Nylander.
Yeah, okay. But
Komarov, Kapanen, Brown, Bozak, Plekanec, Martin, Moore.
But the big guys are Austin Matthews, Nazir Kadri, and
William Nylander. And
yeah, okay.
James Van Riemsdyk.
Nylander.
It's Nylander. But
either or.
But
anyway, go on.
Anyway, I'm gonna say this is the goaltenders. That's what makes the difference, and I don't like Friedrich Anderson at all, compared to, in my opinion, one of the best goalies in the league in Tuukka Rask when he is at 100%. Let's also look at the fact that Patrice Bergeron has only played 63 games this season and has 62 points. So he's going to produce. Marchand's going to produce, hopefully, more goals than pucks against the crossbar, because that happens a lot in the playoffs. We hear a lot of dings. Chara spends the most time out of any Bruin on the ice with about 23 minutes a game, which for a 47-year-old man, or almost 47-year-old man, it's a lot of minutes. I think what everyone's seeing as our kryptonite in our youth, it's what's gonna actually push us on a run. And I just have one question for Ben. What in the hell team are you watching? Because we are definitely not slow.
You're slow.
I feel like he got the old Bruins in mind. We have a lot of youth. We're I have them in 7. I don't think we're not going to blow out Toronto. I think Toronto is a really good team, but I really just think what to me is one of the most important things is that aggressiveness and that grit that I've seen Boston on numerous times, especially towards the end of the season when you had Bergeron out, you had Chara out, you had McAvoy all out at the same time, and yet we've still seen to put together wins. The last 2 games of the season where we could have won the East, couldn't pull it out. Thank you, Florida, for ruining that for us. But I got, like I said, the Bruins in 7, and we've spent an hour and a half, and we haven't even got out of the first round yet. Tampa, New Jersey. We all are in conclusion that Tampa Bay is going to win this, right? Oh, good, because I picked New Jersey. No, I'm joking.
I was about to say.
No, I picked Tampa in 6. I think for obvious reasons. I think we all can agree that New Jersey got lucky just to even get in. And it's really Taylor Hall, and that's about it. They got a lot of youth. It's kind of sad when your starter and Schneider gets outplayed by Kincaid. I really like Kincaid, though. But Vasilevsky is definitely the better of the goaltenders. So you guys' take on this series real quick.
I'll go first really quickly. I think obviously the Lightning win this, and they do so in 5 games. That offense is it's potent, man. It doesn't matter who's on whose line, they score, and they score in bunches. Obviously leads with Steven Stamkos, the captain, who is finally healthy for a playoff series for once. Last year he played, I believe, and 1 game against Pittsburgh. And it was a final game, Game 7, winner moved on to the finals. And, as much as you want him to help come back from injury and going through that rust, it doesn't matter how many suicides you do in practice. Nothing can do and resemble a game-like situation, especially against the defending Cup champion then Penguins. But Stamkos is finally healthy, so he'll be a vital piece of that offense, obviously. Kucherov with a magnificent season this year. Nemestikov is no longer with the team, but I hadn't sold him down really at all. JT Miller is on the team. He's doing pretty good. Obviously, Victor Hedman leading that back end. And just everything about this team is amazing. Their power play is just as good. And the goalie matchup, like you said, I like Kincaid. I think he'll be a really good piece for New Jersey in the years coming. He definitely made a name for himself this year. Does he continue in the playoffs? We'll see. Kincaid's last 17 games, he was 13-3-1. Magnificent. Can't go wrong with that at all. Interesting fact, the Devils won this series in the regular season 3-0. Tampa Bay lost twice in regulation, once in overtime. I I've said in last night, sometimes when you have that success against a team in the regular season, sometimes it does transfer over to the playoffs. So it's kind of an interesting factor to look at that the Devils won every game they played. However, I think that the Lightning turn it up, come out storming, no pun intended, and don't make easy work of the Devils. I think the Devils do give them a little bit of fit, but I do think they get it done in 5.
All right. And Ben?
I'm in the same boat. I got Tampa Bay in 5. And kind of like what Cody said, that offense is just damn near unstoppable. They led the league in goals. Goals for, probably total number of goals scored, and averaging 3.537. Almost, if you round that up, that's 4 goals a game. That is insane. They say 3 goals is more than enough to win a game, and they did that on numerous, if not more, occasions. That is just potent, if I do say so. Heck, their defense is just stacked. Not as stacked as Nashville's, but pretty damn stacked. With, of course, Girardi, Hedman, Sergachev, McDonough, Suster, Strawman, and then Scratch Coquette they called up from Syracuse, who's a very good defenseman in my mind. He will be. He's got potential. And then Coburn and Dotchin. Coburn, of course, is an old vet and more of a shutdown guy now, but that's what you need, though. Like, as in terms of a healthy Scratch, someone can step in if someone gets hurt. And in goaltending, they have, of course, Andrei Vasilevskiy and Peter Budaj. Budaj, excellent backup, probably the perfect guy you need to help keep Vasilevskiy sane and calm, because Vasilevskiy is still very unproven in the playoffs, still very young, but his talent is undeniable. And in the forward core, don't even think I really need to say much about the forward core. It's stacked. That's all we really need to know. And in New Jersey, kind of like what I said earlier, they had a great start to the season. I didn't think they'd hold together. They weren't even predicted to do that well this year. They blew out everybody's expectations, exceeded expectations. There we go. I like their balance as a team, but because Nico Hischier had a good rookie year. Pavel Zacha, I thought they just called up way too early. He should not be on this team. He is nowhere near ready. And then they have a good center core with Travis Zajac and Marcus Johansson, who they got the Caps in a pretty good deal over the offseason. And they made a good push at the trade deadline, getting guys like Martin Grabner and such. But I just don't think. I mean, they have an okay defense, but Schneider's a good goalie, and I think next to Hall, he's their best player. But I just don't think they're that complete of a team. They're still on the rise, if you ask me. They're going to be better next year, but I don't see them. They just don't have enough offensive oomph to get past the stingy Tampa Bay defense, and I don't think their defense can withstand that offense. And heck, Tampa Bay's got the edge in goaltending too. So Tampa Bay in 5.
All right, on to the second round. We're going to make this a little bit quicker. So first matchup, you guys, I think, both agree in Pittsburgh, Washington. I'm the complete opposite with Columbus and Philly. So because I'm opposite, I'll go first. And I have Philly winning the series in 7 games. For kind of the same reason I like the Bruins. They kind of actually remind me of the same team. And they got their core, but they got a lot of youth, and I really like the youth on this team. Think Konechny and Couturier is going to really shine like they have all year. Of course, Voracek and Giroux, and I think Simmons comes out of his shell from the sort of mediocre year he's had. And if Elliott can hold the net, I really think Philly has a chance. So Philly in 6. So you guys.
I think let me go before Cody goes, because that's one of those. Of course, is his series he has to talk about, and as terms of the future. Since I had Pittsburgh, Washington as my second round, I have, and I hope I don't make Cody mad here, but I have Pittsburgh in 7, not 6. I have them in 7. I think it's going to be a better series, a good series. But I think, and you know what? I'm going to go the extra mile, and I'm going to say Game 7 OT. Just to kind of, because it's going to be like that. It's going to be one of those moments where it's like, okay, finally, maybe this year we can get to the conference finals, and then something crazy is going to happen. There's going to be some bogus call or something like the hockey gods will just be like, nope. And it's going to come close. But I think Pittsburgh in 7 and OT. And yeah.
All right. Mr. Capital over there.
Same series has been Pittsburgh, Washington, the fourth installment in the Ovechkin Crosby era. We've won one playoff series against these guys, and I think the last 12. I thought last year was definitely the year, and we went down 3-1 in the series, came back to get to 3-3, and fucked it up in Game 7 like usual. I really the series rests for me on how badly Philadelphia beats up Pittsburgh. I think if they can bruise them up enough to where Pittsburgh just loses their gas in games 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, that they come out starting really well, and then just as the game wears on, every game after about game 3, they just get more and more less physical, not very well with the puck. A couple guys will obviously always be good, like Crosby and Malkin. I think everybody else is just going to lose their mojo as the series wears on. And I think if that happens and the Capitals relatively get unscathed from the Columbus series, that it bodes well in our favor. But every time something bodes well in our favor, we still mess it up somehow. But I would be Mr. Optimistic, and I'm going to say Washington takes this series, in 7 games and doesn't go to overtime. I think we win 3-1 in Game 7, and the third goal comes on an empty net. And we can let our guard down for about 45 seconds, advancing to the conference finals, and then realizing that that's the first time ever that's happened in the Ovechkin era, and we're still one step away from the finals. So Capitals in 7.
All right, so the next matchup, I think me and Ben both have Boston and Tampa. So Cody, you go first. So you got Tampa, Toronto.
I do have Tampa and Toronto. I think this will be a very high-scoring, very fast, very skillful series between those two teams. Austin Matthews against Steven Stamkos, Nazem Kadri, and Riemsdyk against Kucherov and and company. This will be a very intriguing matchup. Like I said, very high-scoring. I do think Tampa Bay does win in 6, though. I think that goaltending is just a little bit stronger. Vasilevsky shows up pretty big in that series, and Tampa Bay wins in 6.
All right, Ben, you got Tampa and Boston, if I remember correctly.
Yep. All righty, and I know you're probably gonna get all mad at me for this, but I got Tampa Bay in 7, defeating the Bruins, and I think it's just gonna come down to a few of the games that it's not gonna be the speed part. Although Tampa Bay is a much faster team than Boston. But I think it's going to come down to the inconsistencies on Boston's defense and the forward cores, the younger ones. It's going to really test them and strain them, and I don't think they're going to be able to keep it all there consistently through all 7 games. And I think that's where the veteran edge Tampa Bay has, because they did just go to the finals not too long ago. So I think that's going to be in Stamkos' mind too. It's like, you know what, I've been here. I know what it takes to get there. I plan on getting back there, and they're going to hold it down, hold the fort, and they're going to get past Boston in 7.
All right, and I too have Tampa, Boston. It should be a great series. If we look over the season series, we played 4 games, 3 of which were in the last month.
Gotta love the schedule they're making.
And we won 3 out of the 4. And I think combined goals in each game was 8 or 9 goals for both teams combined in every game. It's gonna be high scoring. With that said, Bruins in 5.
I changed my vote. Tampa Bay in 4.
With that. with that said, I think Tampa is in the the coveted spot of having home ice for the entire Eastern Conference. And so having to go to Tampa to start the first two games, if we can seal game one, that's a lot of momentum. I see us winning or losing game one, winning game two, going home and winning both home games, and stealing the series in Tampa. I think the Steven Stamkos we're used to seeing in the playoffs, even though we haven't seen him in a while because of injuries, and it would be great if New Jersey could do that. That would really help us out, New Jersey. While you're at it, take out Kucherov. While you're at it,
I said bump up and bruise up Pittsburgh. I didn't say they had to injure and get rid of Crosby or Malkin.
Typical
from our most hated rival.
Typical Boston fans. Always just want to hurt people.
Boston in 5. I really think Stamkos doesn't perform as well as everyone thinks he will. And the Bruins, like I said, they're the underdogs, and I think that's something that you can use as fuel to fire your team onto the conference finals, in which I think I'm the only one to have the Bruins and Flyers.
Yep.
Which a lot of y'all are like, wow, the hell, you got the Bruins and Flyers in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm going to have you guys, say who you guys got. You guys can go first. And who represents the East in the Stanley Cup?
Start with Ben. I got Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh in the conference finals. I like this. We all have different matchups. I predict that it's going to be the good old Tampa Bay Lightning in 7, and they're going to advance to their second Stanley Cup Finals in 2 or 3 years, I think. So, because they lost to Pittsburgh 2 years ago, right? Or was that No. Like Stanley Cup Finals, they lost to not Pittsburgh. Sorry, they lost to LA 3 years ago, right? Or
yeah,
Chicago.
Chicago.
All right, yeah. So I think they'll advance to their second Stanley Cup Finals in 4 years, and finally, redeemed themselves from Pittsburgh last year in the conference finals. So I think, and I really like this Tampa Bay team, and I think I just have this weird hunch that one of the captains is going to get hurt, and that's going to determine who wins the series. I think either Stamkos might get hurt or Crosby might get hurt. I don't know why. It's going to be a bunch of controversy about it. I just have this strange feeling. But that aside, I really like this Tampa Bay team, and not just because they're the powerhouse team, although powerhouse teams normally don't do as well. Kind of like, example of the Capitals last year. Y'all had the super team. Like on paper, the Capitals on paper were just unbeatable. But of course, that's not what happened. But this time around, the super team is, I guess, Nashville, because they won the President's Trophy and they just had an unbelievable season. So, but I really do like this Tampa Bay team, and I think they have the potential to make more than just some noise. So I have Tampa Bay in 7. They're going to go up against the Nashville Predators, who will be seeking their first Stanley Cup. And both teams will be just Nashville will be seeking their first Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay was seeking their second Stanley Cup. And are we doing Stanley Cup predictions?
Yeah, we will after this.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, I have Tampa Bay beating Pittsburgh.
I'm going to go on the record and say if Ben's prediction is right, that series happens and one of the captains gets hurt, somehow we find this clip of him saying that and post it onto there, and
we're sending it to ESPN.
Yeah. Send it to everybody and say and we want royalties for if you're going to use his clip or use him in general.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, exactly right. You heard it here first, folks. I have Tampa Bay and Washington in the Eastern Conference Finals, which would be, in my opinion, a really good matchup, really high-scoring matchup, I think. And it comes down to just who can sustain 5-on-5 more than the other team, who draws more penalties and that nature. As much as I wanted to say Washington will advance to the Stanley Cup Finals, I think they make a good showing, make a deep run into the playoffs to get to the conference finals. Ovechkin is once again Stanley Cup Finals list, and Tampa Bay wins it in 6. As just saying, Tampa Bay, just too dangerous. Just too dangerous. Have a lot of experience in, especially with being in a couple finals. They know how to get the job done. So Tampa Bay in 6.
All right, and so we all know that got the Bruins and the Flyers here. What I think will be a really great series. Now, this continues.
It'll be physical AF.
This continues the Boston-Philadelphia sports rivalry that seems to happen this year. As you know, the Eagles and the Patriots faced off. This one doesn't mean as much because it's not for the League Cup. But, still, Philly's fighting. Really, the city's all behind all their sports teams. There's theories going out saying, we got the college basketball. Villanova won. The Eagles won. The Flyers are going to win. The Sixers are going to win. And, hey, guess what? The Phillies are going to win it all, guys. There's people in Philly saying that. We're going to stop with the Phillies because that's not going to happen. The Braves beat them, 14-1 one game?
15-2.
15-2, okay. We can stop with that nonsense. And we can stop it here because Philly's not getting by Boston. We own the season series 3-1. And the one we lost, I think we lost in overtime. Anyway, that was an actual a really physical game, and it really had a lot of playoff implication at the time. And that was within the last month of the season. So, anyway, Philly's going to be a beaten team, having to play Pittsburgh and then Columbus. And I think each of those go 6 or 7. And with the Bruins being well rested from winning against Tampa in 5, I think the Bruins take this one as well in 5 to go face Nashville in the Stanley Cup Championship matchup, which we will predict now. We're going to start with Cody.
So my finals, I have San Jose facing Tampa Bay, and either way will be one of the superstars will get a cup before Ovechkin. And that's, once again, that happens. I think that'll be a very intriguing matchup for sure, and I've got Tampa Bay winning in 6 as well. And Steven Stamkos, Nikita Kucherov, and company get to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup for the first time.
Benjamin Bolt.
I have the Nashville Predators and the Tampa Bay Lightnings in the Stanley Cup Finals. But this year, I really think it's Nashville's time to prevail, and I have Nashville taking it all in 7. I think that defense is just too stacked. Their offense is enough to get past Tampa Bay's defense, and goaltending, and Pekka Rinne will steal the show. When I forgot what it's called. Conn Smythe Trophy, that's what it's called, for the playoff MVP. And it's going to be not a very high-scoring affair. I think moderate, 4-3 games, 3-2 kind of games, with the final being a 3-1 is the final prediction for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final for Nashville and Tampa Bay. And Nashville will win its franchise's first Stanley Cup.
All right, and we come to the very last prediction of the NHL playoff predictions here on the Outlaw Sports Network, and it's my Stanley Cup Final between the Nashville Predators, the best record in the league, the most points, the President's Cup trophy winner, versus these underdogs and the Boston Bruins that no one has any credit for.
Because they suck and they slow.
Yeah. Let me know when your team gets 110 points, and then we'll talk.
Here we go.
With that said,
hashtag next year. Hashtag we got this. Hashtag you.
And while we're using hashtags, hashtag it's in our blood. ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a great series. The Nashville crowd, the Boston crowd. Been to Boston, not for a game, but I've met some diehard Boston fans, and they're the realest hockey fans I've ever met. And then you got the Nashville
Also the
fans.
most racist.
I don't know about that. I don't think you. No, you're wrong. I don't understand.
2011 kind of brought that out.
First off, that was Tim Thomas, not the fans. But. And just because we have some fans that are, they've never seen a black person a day in their life because Boston's 95% white. That's not our fault. Cody's over there like, why am I friends with these people?
Sure. Anyway, just go on.
Anyway, in 7, the Boston Bruins add more trophies to their case. We're going to win a Stanley Cup, guys. It's happening. It's in our blood. It's our year. It's the time. These young guys are going to prove everyone wrong. They have something to fight for. Not saying Nashville doesn't, but
you're right. Nashville doesn't have much to fight for because after those 14 fans that actually showed up to their games will leave after Game 3 or Game 2, then they won't have much to cheer for.
Yeah, you're right. So Boston 7. Which concludes the NHL playoff prediction show. It's been a nice, fun 2 days. It's
hated every second of this.
You did? Yeah, it's really hot in this house. I really want to go to sleep, so I don't have to be hot. But
just take off all your clothes.
All right, Nelly, whatever. With that said, it's almost midnight here. I gotta go to work early in the morning. The OSN doesn't pay very well. I gotta talk to management about that.
OSN doesn't pay for.
I'd like to thank my guest over there, Ben Bolt and Cody Montanaro.
We accept donations.
We do. We need. I need a
Send
lot of
us
money.
to WrestleMania next year. OSN Foundation, GoFundMe.
You can do that, but I also need money to. It's a long story, but I'm now a season ticket holder for the Checkers, and the guy I bought season tickets with might not actually be able to go because he might be in.
Jesus Christ!
Why do you trust this guy?
Well, he just told me today. It's a long story. We're not going to put his business on the air, so I'll tell you guys after.
Follow me on the IG at Old North Strong. Thank you.
Follow me at Cody Caps, KODYCAPS 8.
Yeah, I don't want you guys following me, so you can leave me alone.
Randall Beatley. Just find him on Facebook.
Yeah, no, please don't. You will be blocked. Thanks. Thank you guys for following these 2 hours of nonsense. And with that, go Bruins. And please, for the sake of my wallet, as much as I like the Charlotte Checkers, please don't go past the first round because I'm buying playoff tickets as well, and I don't have this type of money to do this. Yeah.
I will kill you.
If they make it past the first round, I'll accept free tickets.
But with that said, goodbye, guys.
Bye.
All right, we're off the air now.